up, that perhaps you've been supportive of what he did. What is your take on that?
If you were reading up, I don't think you read up on it. Because I said what I felt about it, and I said what a lot of people said.
Some people took it that way. So could you clarify what you think?
No, I'm not going to just have some controversial moment so you can get clicks. I'm not doing that.
Here is Bill Burr on the red carpet at the 2025 Mark Twain Prize for American Humor ceremony, being asked about Luigi. Here's what happened next.
I'm here for Conan. I'm not doing all of this. What are you going to bring up next? The Middle East? I went to summer school 3 out of 4 years in high school. I'm not qualified to talk about this.
He would then be asked about this. Elon Musk. Here was his answer.
I was just
what do you think about global warming?
You said about Elon that he was ruining Earth, I saw on The View. You're critical of him. What do you think of all the boycotts, like even the violence
I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news. I have no idea what's going on. I watch Instagram. I watch people wipe out on motorcycles. I watch lions and hyenas fight each other. This is the things that I do.
This next part, important. Listen up.
And I don't think you should be asking a comedian. You're a journalist.
Comedians are on top of current events.
No. That's weak. That's you guys passing the buck. You guys need to have balls again, which you don't. You guys always goes, should we be thinking this? Duh. You guys present stuff like that. You guys used to have balls. You need to get your balls back. And it's not my job. I am a dancing clown.
Now, if you're unaware, here's the context.
This is the amount of people that are struggling out there because of these billionaires. And they got us all arguing liberal and conservative. We got to stop doing that. Like, I am so tired of hearing about people going to bed worried about what's going to happen next week. There is so much money in this country. And there's so much work being done, And if you work a full week at a job, you should be able to pay your rent. You shouldn't have to go out and get another job and still be struggling. It's bad for the country because then the kids don't see their parents and they're not getting the upbringing that they need. It's so these billionaires, they need to be put down. Like rabid dogs. They're like rabid with greed. And just going out and just dividing everybody.
Hey guys, quick break in the action. I have a new show coming out called The Rick Strom Show. It is going to be awesome. I'm interviewing musicians, athletes, producers, writers, journalists, authors, sports doctors. Go check it out at youtube.com/@TheRickStromShow. Also be sure to throw me a follow on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. It can all be found in the description box below. Thank you. Weeks later, he went on Complex and said this.
Yeah, I love green. It's crazy, though, because the country had a moment. They were one of the best-selling shoes of 2023, your favorite shoe.
Oh, they brought it back?
Yeah, they brought
it back a couple of times, and they went with cheaper leather.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because some corporate had to give himself a bonus check at the end of the year. What if we made it worse, but made it look the same?
Yeah.
Then could our pools be bigger?
Not
Free
okay.
Luigi!
From page 6, Burr has discussed his opinion on the December 2024 killing numerous times, calling the healthcare industry, quote, a dirty game, close quote, led by gangsters. He told Variety in January that it was, quote, funny watching CEOs have to be uncomfortable after Thompson, quote, got whacked. While Burr noted how CEOs are uncomfortable, journalist Ken Klippenstein, you should all be subscribing to his Substack, would report America's top law enforcement agency is pimping itself out to corporate America to protect business executives from the American people, according to an FBI threat assessment marked law enforcement use only and reported here for the first time. He'd go on to write, the FBI assessment heightened threat to chief executive officers following the shooting of a healthcare senior executive is dated February the 19th and is a striking illustration of the new and growing domestic war on terrorism, he would also add. The assessment and statements from top Trump officials seek to label growing outrage against corporations as terrorism. The Trump administration is particularly spun up about the spate of arson and vandalism attacks against Tesla automobiles and facilities since its CEO, became... Ken, I got to be honest with you, brother. I'm authentic. I think I know the bits words. Bro, I've never seen this word before in my life. Y'all ready? I think it's plenipotentiary, but I just have to be sure. Let's see. Plenipotentiary. A person... Let's learn. A person, especially a diplomat, invested with the full power of independent action on behalf of their government. Okay, got it. Got it. Understood. What a word. Ken pulling out the big guns. Whoa, easy in this context. So, this also comes, that was fun, just days after Attorney General Pam Bondi, I guess we can call her Pondy, called for the death penalty for Mangione, while a screen grab showcased the differences in approach from the federal government that went wild. Honestly, like every social media, it's not even just, the new 4chan of Twitter. All right, so here's my assessment. First, let's start with Burr. Him giving these answers is not all that surprising, because ever since he started going viral and he's addressed it on The Breakfast Club, he's addressed it on his Monday morning podcast. We even did a report on Victor Oshana, who is a probably clinically insane person, on the Patrick Bet David podcast, just spew falsehoods left and right. And he's attacked, like the attacks just keep on coming. Ben Shapiro attacked him. Everybody's attacking. So I think this is a few things. Number one, he hears the noise. He does not want to address this anymore because he only wants to address it on his time. The second is also true, although I don't necessarily completely agree with him, which is when he said, when a reporter asked him, comedians are on top of current events. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And he says, no, that's weak. That's you guys passing the buck. You need to have balls again, which you don't. And then he says, you guys used to have balls. You need to get them back. That's not my job. I'm a dancing clown. So it's funny. I talked to Luke Thomas on my podcast about this, but what I find to be interesting is the decay of media. They're allowed to ask any question. The subject is also allowed to give any answer they like. What I think Burr wants to do is have it on his own terms, where he's just ranting about stuff. And yes, you can be able to criticize him. You can put out a video on him. You can do a report on him. It doesn't really matter. What he wants is for journalism to return to its roots. Unfortunately, the problem is private equity and the consumer. What do I mean by that? There was a mashup of a video a long time ago where local news, like hundreds of local news stations, I think it was from old Deadspin, they put together a mashup of hundreds of local news broadcasts reading the same exact script. And then we would come to learn, well, who put that out? The people who bought all of these local stations. Sinclair Broadcasting. Trumpism to its core. The fact that they have their hands in media, very problematic. The fact that the oligarchs all, off the bat, have way too much money. You'd be fine with $999 million. A billionaire should not exist. We cannot afford to continue to support billionaires. It is not feasible. Look at what is going on around the world. This is not a place where, as Burr even says, someone has to work 2 jobs just to make rent. It's insane. So, nonetheless, when I look at all of this, I see our media decaying by design from private equity who would rather shelve journalists and get them out of and replace them with AI articles, as we saw with Sports Illustrated, egregious example, or just put them out of a job completely, because who wants to protect their interests more than a billionaire who owns a media company? You think those guys are going to hire people to investigate them and look into them? Of course not. You think they're going to hire people to look into and investigate their friends who are also fellow billionaires? No. What's also been really frustrating is, and I've said this a million times, I am a media nerd. I love the website newspapers.com. Seeing how all these newspapers are just gone is deeply frustrating and also problematic. This is where we are. So when he says, you're a journalist, you should be better than this, I suppose. But also, we've shifted completely as a consumer base to online video. Everything is video. No one's picking up a newspaper when they're at a coffee shop, or when they're riding the train, or when they're when they're at the airport waiting for their plane. I would say, in my view, I don't have the statistical data, would not be surprised if it backed me up, people are reading less because they're watching more videos. So the journalism that we speak of is gone. And now we have this, I suppose, the wrong word is infighting, but we have everyone competing for your eyes. And in order to do that, to a lot of people, journalism is just boring. I know I went on like a journalism rant here, but okay, bringing it back. The other thing that really stands out is the fact that, as I mentioned, Attorney General Bondi is saying that they want the death penalty for Mangione. Meanwhile, there are a plethora of examples of folks who have committed crimes where they do not call for the death penalty. And of course they don't. It is because they want to protect corporate interests. And they want to protect the CEOs and CFOs and those who support this administration. And now, through Klippenstein's own reporting, they are literally doing rent-a-cop. They're doing rent-a-cop for the FBI. So I look at this and I get deeply frustrated once again, because it is problematic where we are and how they do not care except for the bottom line in every scenario. Not a surprise, but Stephen A. Smith has found himself being discussed ad nauseum after LeBron James went on McAfee's show and touched on the subject. However, while Smith has lied multiple times in the process, it appears he has told another lie, this time regarding Donald Trump.
So I don't know if Stephen A. Smith is joking about running for president, but the other day he appeared on CNN with Jake Tapper, and he told this story. I want you to listen, then I'm going to tell you the truth about it, because it's actually pretty preposterous.
Here's that clip.
In 2014, Donald Trump wanted to purchase the Buffalo Bills. The price tag was about $1.4 billion. According to my sources, he had about $1.1 billion. And he called me to talk to me about his desire to own the Buffalo Bills. This is the last time we ever spoke. And he said to me, and I'm quoting, Jake, he said, talking about the NFL owners, if them MFers get in my way, I'm going to get them all back. I'm going to run for president. And sure enough, that's what happened. He didn't get the team. And because he didn't get the team, he turned around and he ran for president and he won. So the NFL jokes with me all the time. So it's our fault. It's our fault that he's the president. Like, yeah, maybe.
Jeff Pearlman's response would go as follows.
Okay, first of all, that's ridiculous. Like, that's actually a ridiculous story, and I don't believe him. I actually think Stephen A. Smith is making up this story. Number one, according to my sources, he had about $1.1 billion. For my USFL book, Football for a Buck, I researched a lot about Trump and football, including his efforts to, at one point, he decided not to buy the Dallas Cowboys because he didn't think it would be a good investment. He looked briefly into buying the Baltimore Colts before the Irsay family moved them to Indianapolis. And he also put up a fraud effort to get the Bills. That was just for attention. It was total nonsense. He didn't have the money. It wasn't a serious bid. Everyone with the Bills knew it wasn't a serious bid. The reigning owners knew it wasn't a serious bid. He didn't have the financial backing. I don't know, Stephen A. Smith, I'll ask you directly, like, not that you're watching this, but like, why are you protecting your sources on how much money he had? So who told you he had that much money? Because that's utterly, utterly preposterous. He did not have $1.1 billion at his disposal. Period. Either your source is him and he's full of shit, which is probably the case, or this is just nonsense. I'm sorry. There was never a realistic chance of Donald Trump buying the Buffalo Bills. Never, ever, ever. He wanted the attention. His goal when he was in the USFL was to get a team in Manhattan. He bought the He bought the New Jersey Generals from J. Walter Duncan, and the plan was hopefully get them absorbed in the NFL. Jets had moved to Queens, Jets had moved to Jersey, Giants were in Jersey. They could go play in Shea and then build a stadium in Manhattan. That was his plan. He didn't want a team in Buffalo. He didn't want to be based in Buffalo. He had no interest in that. I mean, come on, man, just do your research. Honestly, just do your research. It doesn't take that long. When this actually bothers me, and I'll just, I'm not a big fan of Stephen A. Smith. It's not because I don't respect his longevity. I actually do. It's because this is bull. Like, this is not journalism. Who the f*** are your sources? My sources. You don't have any.
Hey guys, quick break in the action. I have a new show coming out called The Rick Strom Show. It is going to be awesome. I'm interviewing musicians, athletes, producers, writers, journalists, authors, sports doctors. Go check it out at youtube.com/@TheRickStromShow. Also be sure to throw me a follow on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. It can all be found in the description box below. Thank you. Here's why I trust this guy. Okay? He has put forth well-researched, like hundreds, probably at this point, thousands of sources in order to put out books so he doesn't get sued. Think about this. The journalistic integrity of Jeff Pearlman is a lost art. I want to be clear about this. Not this modern day McAfee, Stephen A. entertainment journalism, if you even call it that. Pearlman is old school. Like, you could hate the way that he delivers his TikToks or his new YouTube channel. You could hate his politics. Dude's record, he's nearly batting 1,000. He is in that class. And when he says these things, I know it's accurate because he wrote this book. He wrote a book about Donald Trump and the United States Football League. It is titled Football for a Buck: The Crazy Rise and the Crazier Demise of the USFL. It's one of many must-read books from him and some of his findings.
Trump's ownership of the New Jersey Generals.
Check us out. The USFL.
He gets the Generals. We need to move to fall. We have to move to fall.
Donald was hell-bent to get into the NFL, either via an accommodation or a merger.
In this meeting, he says to Rozelle, I don't care about the USFL. You tell me what I have to do to get an NFL franchise. P. Rozelle says to him, as long as I am with the NFL, you will never have a team in this league.
Which led to this.
The USFL suing the NFL for a total of $1.32 billion.
Trump sued the NFL, won the case, but was only awarded $1. And on the Pearlman front, yeah, Donald Trump did it for attention. He did this once again to have his name discussed. If there is anything he is great at, it is being talked about. Like, phenomenal, Hall of Fame worthy attention, in the words of Danny DeVito and Sonny. All right. Morgan Stanley, an executive, wrote to his colleagues, and this was in a write-up from the Associated Press. Trump has little chance of being approved by the National Football League. And they were citing the casinos that he's owned and his role in that antitrust case where they were awarded $1. Quote, that being said, his strong show of support doesn't hurt the process. So they're just saying, hey, he's super popular and it's helping to garner attention on who is going to be the next owner of the Bills. Another banker would reply to that banker, he probably does have the dough, but never know the real facts with him. He probably does, but there would be a court case about Trump inflating his assets. He also, it appears, intentionally submitted a lower bid. Me personally, I would say, that's a little suspicious. Do you not want the team? Maybe you're both benefiting from media attention. Then in early 2014, bankers at Morgan Stanley would meet with officials in the National Football League. When it came to Trump, the upshot of the conversation was question his liquidity and ability to get votes from the other team owners in the approval vote. And that's per the Morgan Stanley email. It also said the league would want to examine management contracts for any Trump-branded casinos to see whether he had any influence, even if not ownership. They go on. 2 months later, Trump had not provided his financial documents. Another red flag in this entire process. And his bid was not the highest. Still, the bankers prepared talking points that told him his bid was below others, but you could prevail if during the diligence process you can move up in value. He didn't do it. Why didn't he do it? Because he didn't have it. He didn't have enough. I don't know, man. I'm thinking about this more and more, and all the LeBron stuff with Stephen A. invoking Kobe, but then the way that he goes about, he also said Nolan Richardson passed away. Nolan Richardson did not pass away. But then, like, what are you doing, man? Like, I lean on the respected, accredited journalists like a Howard Bryant, like a Jeff Pearlman, like a Dave Zirin. Like, I agree with Jeff that this is not journalism. This is just Stephen A. wanting to continue having the loudest megaphone possible because quite literally his career depends on it. He has to continue being in front of us at all times. And that is why when he was negotiating his contract, he wants to have a bigger role in the NFL shows on ESPN. Pass. You have your own show, okay? You have your EP credit with ESPN on First Take. Like, how much more do we possibly need from this guy who, when he doesn't like what an athlete says, threatens them? You should be happy that I didn't get into this and I didn't get into that. You're threatening athletes. And a lot of the things that he says are just wrong. It's just wrong. So look, Perlman said something, because I took journalism classes. Perlman said something that I found really troubling. And he said, when I go and teach journalism classes, a lot of the students, not all, but a lot of the students think that journalism is Pat McAfee and Stephen A. Smith. And it's not. It's not. They are putting on a facade of what it means to be a journalist. It's not journalism. And this is something that I think is just going to get worse and worse. You want to see a true marker of journalism? Free plug. Subscribe to Ken Klippenstein's Substack, and you'll see real journalism. Because Stephen A. Smith, no. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.